Donald Trump is leaving the G7 summit early. It's not the first time he's done that. Back in 2018, when Canada last held the summit, he departed early, heading to Singapore to hold a summit with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. He says this time it's all about the Middle East and the unfolding situation there. But it has prompted plenty of speculation as to why the US president believes he needs to be back in the US capital and not taking part in a second day of talks here in Canada. The question is all about whether this is a push for peace or putting the US on a footing for war. He has told his National Security Council to be ready. He's told them to get the Situation Room at the White House prepared for when he lands, and therefore there is some speculation that we could see an increase of Israeli strikes against Iran. Remember, just earlier the US president warned people in Tehran to evacuate immediately. We could potentially even see the US carrying out strikes of its own against Iran, or perhaps the US is simply getting ready in case Iran strikes back against US assets in the region. But there is also the potential that Donald Trump, who has suggested a truce between Israel and Tehran, is instead returning to Washington to push further in those negotiations. He's offered to mediate a ceasefire following 5 days of strikes and retaliatory strikes. But here in Canada, it means that the G7 now becomes the G6. Tuesday, day 2, was meant to be all about discussions on Ukraine. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is here in Canada to take part in the summit as the Western allies push for peace in the more than 3-year war that has beset Ukraine. But it does mean that the G7 leaders who remain here for the summit will perhaps have their attention turned to a different region, the Middle East, rather than Ukraine, as they try and push for peace in another conflict that's besetting the world. Nick Harper, SABC News, Calgary.